The old Victorian house had always been a topic of discussion among the locals. Rumors circulated that it was haunted, with strange occurrences happening in the dead of night. Some claimed to have seen apparitions, while others spoke of strange sounds emanating from within its walls. But for Sheena and her husband, it was just a house, a place they could call home. However, as time passed, they began to experience strange and unexplainable events that left them questioning their sanity. What started as a mere curiosity soon turned into a terrifying confrontation with the unseen, leaving them with a tale to tell that would send chills down anyone's spine. Watch on as we recount their story of confronting the haunted house and the horrors that lurked within its walls. Welcome to Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. We are thrilled to have you join us for 2 new spine-tingling tales of the paranormal each week, stories that will make you shiver with fear and keep you on the edge of your seat. From haunted houses to possessed objects, we have the most bone-chilling tales of the supernatural. Get ready for a terrifying journey into the unknown with our bone-chilling episodes featuring blood-curdling stories that will send shivers down your spine. So hit that like button, share the horror with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We want to share this story entitled Confronting the Unseen, a haunting encounter in an old Victorian house with you. This has been shared by Otto, who's from Hoogzand from the Netherlands. Sheena's home had always been a place of solace for her. She had lived there for years and had never experienced any paranormal activity. However, there had been occasional moments when she felt like she was being watched or followed. She ignored these feelings, thinking that they were just figments of her imagination. When Sheena became pregnant with her daughter, she and her husband were ecstatic. They had been trying for years to conceive and were overjoyed at the thought of starting a family. However, as the due date drew closer, Sheena's anxiety began to grow. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong with her baby. On the night before she went into labor, Sheena found herself tossing and turning in bed. She was uncomfortable and couldn't seem to get comfortable no matter what position she tried. She got up to go to the bathroom, as she had been doing frequently over the past few weeks. As she was sitting on the toilet, she realized that she hadn't felt the baby move in hours. Panic set in as she tried to feel for any signs of movement. Sheena tried to remain calm, but her fears were getting the best of her. She didn't want to wake her husband, who was sleeping soundly beside her. She lay back down in bed, trying to get comfortable, when she noticed a faint light at the foot of her bed. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, but as the light grew brighter, she realized that it was real. Sheena tried to call out to her husband, but she couldn't speak. She was frozen in fear, unable to move or make a sound. The light grew brighter, and she felt a sense of calm wash over her. She knew, somehow, that everything was going to be all right. As the light faded, Sheena was finally able to move and speak again. She shook her husband, trying to wake him up and explain what had just happened. He groggily told her to go back to sleep, thinking that she was just having a nightmare. The next morning, Sheena went into labor and gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She had forgotten all about the strange light until a few weeks later, when she was home alone with her daughter. She was sitting in the living room, holding her baby and watching TV, when she heard footsteps upstairs. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, but the footsteps grew louder and more distinct. She could hear someone walking around upstairs, even though she knew that no one else was home. She tried to tell herself that it was just the house settling or the wind blowing through the open window, but she couldn't shake the feeling of dread that was creeping up inside her. Sheena decided to investigate, leaving her daughter in the living room and making her way upstairs. As she reached the top of the stairs, she saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was dark, and she couldn't make out any features, but she knew that it wasn't her husband or anyone else she knew. She called out, but there was no response. The figure just stood there, watching her. Sheena felt a cold chill run down her spine as she slowly backed away. She didn't know what to do or who to call. She felt like she was losing her mind. As she made her way back down the stairs, Sheena heard the figure start to move towards her. She felt a hand on her shoulder, and she screamed. She turned around, ready to fight or flee, but there was no one there. She was alone in the house with her newborn baby, and she didn't know what to do. As the years passed, Sheena continued to experience strange occurrences in the house. Some nights she would wake up to find all the kitchen cabinets open, even though she was sure she had closed them before going to bed. Other times she would hear footsteps in the hallway, but when she got up to investigate, no one was there. She tried to dismiss these incidents as her imagination, but deep down, she knew something was not right about the house. Her husband, on the other hand, never believed in ghosts or anything supernatural. He always had a logical explanation for everything that happened, which often left Sheena feeling alone and scared. One night, as Sheena was getting ready for bed, she heard a knock at the front door. She went to answer it, but when she opened the door, no one was there. She shrugged it off and went back to bed, but as soon as she got under the covers, she heard the knocking again. This time, she decided to investigate. As she walked towards the front door, she felt a cold breeze brush past her. She shuddered and continued to walk. When she reached the front door, she saw a shadowy figure standing outside. Sheena's heart raced as she stared at the figure. She couldn't make out any features or details, but she knew it wasn't human. Suddenly, the figure disappeared, leaving her feeling more scared than ever before. Sheena knew she had to do something about the house. She started researching the history of the property and found out that the previous owner had died in the house. It was rumored that the previous owner's ghost haunted the property, but Sheena had always dismissed it as a silly rumor. However, after her encounter with the shadowy figure, Sheena knew that the rumors were true. She tried to talk to her husband about it, but he refused to believe her. He thought she was just stressed out and imagining things. Determined to get to the bottom of things, Sheena contacted a paranormal investigator. The investigator confirmed that there was indeed a ghost in the house. The ghost was the previous owner who had experienced a tragic death and was unable to move on. The investigator suggested that Sheena try to communicate with the ghost and help it move on. Sheena was hesitant at first, but she knew she had to do something. She followed the investigator's advice and tried to communicate with the ghost. At first, there was no response. Sheena felt silly talking to an empty room, but she persisted. Eventually, she started to get a response. The ghost started to communicate with her through knocking sounds and other strange noises. Through these conversations, Sheena learned that the ghost was trapped in the house because it had unfinished business. It had been searching for something for years but had never been able to find it. Sheena offered to help the ghost find what it was looking for, and after months of searching, they finally found it. With its unfinished business taken care of, the ghost was finally able to move on. Sheena felt a sense of relief knowing that the ghost was no longer haunting the house. She and her family continued to live in the house, but they no longer experienced any strange occurrences. Looking back on the whole experience, Sheena realized that sometimes things are not always what they seem. She had dismissed the rumors about the haunted house, but in the end, they were true. She also realized that sometimes it takes courage to confront your fears and do what needs to be done. As Sheena's story comes to a close, we are left with a sense of unease and wonder. What was the ball of light that appeared before her that fateful night? Was it truly her guardian angel, or something much more sinister? We may never know, but one thing is for certain, the unexplainable does exist, and it can happen to anyone. If this video left you spellbound, dive deeper into the world of chilling tales by joining our channel, Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. Access a treasure trove of bone-chilling stories waiting for you with new episodes 2 times a week. Spread the fear among your friends and family who crave a good scare and give them goosebumps. We'd love to hear your spine-tingling experiences as well, so don't hesitate to share them in the comments. You can also send us your story so we can feature it in one of our future episodes. We also love to give a shout out to YouTube user at Benjamin Cintron 8761 who's from Bronx, New York, who's been a very active commenter and regular watcher of our videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay scared. Disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. The stories depicted in this video are shared by people who believe they are true, but they have not been verified. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the people who shared the stories and do not necessarily reflect the views of YouTube, Google, or Facebook. The channel does not endorse the views expressed in this video. This video is not intended to be used as evidence of any supernatural or paranormal activity. If you are experiencing paranormal activity, please contact a qualified professional.